film begins. We see a man, a college professor named Gary, is living a happy life, but one day his life changes completely when he is on an undercover police mission, when he discovers that a hitman named Jasper, who works in the police department, has been suspended for 120 days after attacking the children, and now the policeman in his place asks Gary to complete the mission. Gary says that he is not good at this job, and if he does, his mission might fail, but Gary is forced to agree to the mission by becoming a fake hitman on the job. Gary then goes to the restaurant as a fake hitman, goes to where a man named Kirk is sitting. According to the police, this person is going to give Jasper a contract to kill someone. Gary's job is to go and ask the man about his deal, so the police can catch him before he makes a deal to kill someone. A policeman in a van outside the restaurant listens to Gary through earbuds. Gary pretends to be a professional hitman to the man so that the man does not suspect Gary. Kirk gives Gary a contract to kill a man, but Gary uses his mind and asks Kirk how to destroy the body after killing the man so that the police cannot identify his body. Kirk asks Gary about destroying the body. Gary tells Kirk such a technique that the police and Kirk realize that Gary is already a professional killer. Gary takes the contract money from the man and walks out. Kirk comes out of the restaurant. The police arrest him on charges of awarding a contract. They are very pleased with Gary's work and ask him to do the job until Jasper is back on the job. Gary also begins to gain confidence that he has become a real hitman, and now Gary starts taking this job seriously, and he searches the internet for people who contract to kill someone. Gary also searches the internet to find out what the hitman really is like and tries to be like him, going by a new name each time and helping the police catch the people who gave out the contracts and his professor's work. But one day in his research comes a contract for a girl named Madison. Madison is a married girl, but her husband beats her and makes her life hell. Gary meets Madison with the name Ron. Madison tells Gary the story of her married life. Hearing this, Gary takes pity on Madison and tells her that if she wants to, she can improve her life, divorce her husband instead of killing him, and make a deal with whatever money she wants, buy a separate house from him. Madison can be happy. After listening to Gary, Madison changes her mind and considers divorcing her husband. Madison and Ron seem to like each other very much. Next, we see the police team. They get angry about saving Madison and warn him not to do it again. Gary works for the police and also starts dating Madison. At Gary's insistence, Madison starts living in her own separate house. Gary and Madison begin to grow closer, and they are often physical with each other. In fact, Madison tells Gary that she wants to be with him forever, but Gary sets a few conditions for her, telling her that neither of them will reveal their identities. I will intervene because if they don't .so, they can live together. Madison agrees with Gary. One day, Gary and Madison come out of the club after a night of partying, where Madison is spotted by her husband and he abuses Gary and Madison. Gary, in a fit of rage, pulls out his gun and chases Madison's husband away. Later, Gary and Madison are eating at a restaurant. Jasper sees them sitting there. Gary is very upset to see this and is afraid that Jasper might tell the police about Madison. The next day, Gary gets a new mission. According to the police, a man named Mike is sitting in the cafe who wants to give a contract to kill Gary. The police have no information about him. Gary then goes into the cafe and sits in the chair behind the man. Gary calls him Mike and asks him about his deal. Mike tells Gary that he wants to kill his wife because she is cheating on him, and if he can, he should kill her boyfriend too. Gary guesses that Mike is Madison's husband, and then he scares Mike and drives him away, and Gary pretends to the police that Mike was scared of him and ran away. Afterwards, Gary meets Jasper and tells him not to tell anyone about Madison. Jasper is a cunning man who can get Gary into trouble at any time. We then see Gary go to Madison and tell her that her husband came to make a deal to kill her. In the next scene, we see Gary going to the police. Gary learns that someone has killed Madison's husband. It is heard that Mike has been killed in drug deal, but the police still suspect that someone else may be behind it. Gary rushes to Madison and tells her that her husband has been killed. Madison then tells Gary the whole truth because she is afraid that her husband will kill her and Gary, which is why she kills her husband herself after hearing this. Gary gets angry and starts yelling at Madison. Madison asks Gary why he is behaving like this when he is a hitman herself. Gary then angrily tells her the whole truth, that he is a fake hitman, and his name is Gary, not Ron. Madison is shocked to hear Gary's truth. Gary then gets a call from the police and calls him to come over. In the next scene, we see the police tell Gary that they have discovered that Madison is a prime suspect in the Mike murder case because through the investigation, they have discovered that Mike had an insurance policy with Madison's name on it. Because of this, they suspect that Madison killed Mike for the same policy. Jasper then tells the police that Madison has met Gary before and that she likes Gary, and if we want, we can get the truth out of Madison's mouth with Gary's help. The police agree to the task and send Gary to Madison, and she overhears Gary and Madison's conversation in the van parked outside. But Gary, with his sharp mind, pre-types a text into Madison's phone telling her that the police are listening to the two of them, and whatever she types .go, Madison will tell all that they both will avoid arrest. Madison also understands Gary and agrees, and she speaks as Gary says. The police sitting in the van are listening to both of them, and they believe Madison after hearing what they are saying. She is innocent. Gary comes to Wayne and sees Jasper, and Jasper also wonders how Madison and Gary did all of this. Next, we see that Gary comes to Madison's house at night. He sees Jasper sitting with Madison and tells both of them that if they both want me not to tell the police about you, they can get half of the insurance. They both think about how to deal with him. He wants a part in Madison's policy, and Jasper collapses saying that. On the ground, Madison is afraid that if he wakes up, Madison and Gary will be caught by the police, and she starts crying because of this. Gary then, to save Madison, puts an envelope over Jasper's mouth so that he dies of suffocation and, according to Gary, will leave Jasper in a car in a remote area. If the police investigate, they will declare it as suicide and close the case. Madison hears this and hugs Gary and thanks him for saving her. Afterwards, Gary and Madison start their lives anew and they start a new family. Gary quits his job as a fake hitman and he now only works as a professor, and with that our hitman story ends.